to this edition of Battle in the Trenches. I'm your host, as always, Jonders, and welcome to the newest week. I wasn't with you guys last week, but hey, to make up for that, here's what I'm going to give you for free. A free subscription to Climb the Bucket on YouTube. All you need to do is hit the subscription. Boom, it's free. So there's my gift for you. Also, if you can give a gift back, because it feels better to give than to receive, just hit the like button down there when you're done watching, or right now, just hit the like button. Boom! So that, hey, we're in the giving spirit. It's almost Halloween. We're giving out candies. We're giving out picks. We're giving out treats. We're giving out some ghouls. Ron McGinley's a ghoul. How's it going, Ron McGinley?
Well, in your off week, Jonders, I see you studied your tape, and you know that you got to plug stuff now, and that was your best effort so far, and I'm proud of that, and I'm glad you're back now. So.
All I can do is try. I've been drunk on cold syrup, or robo-tripping as the kids call it, I hear. Hey, Steve Catalano, do you have anything, do you have an opening quip?
I don't know what that means, but I'm with Ryan. That was a really good plug. He's a ghoul. I'm a ghoul. Let's get spooky here. Talk Week 8 football.
Ghoul boys, let's go to the news! Wow, there's a lot of news coming off. Hot and furious, we got news coming. Emmanuel Sanders is now in my favorite division, the NFC West. He's not going to be wearing the gold and red. He's a 49er. I'm going to go to my favorite goal first. Ryan, any impact here?
Dante Pettis wasn't getting the job done. It lets George Kittle not have to carry the entire offense, and they've got a great running back group. So I think their offense is going to look real nice, and, hopefully Emmanuel Sanders gives them what they want. Jimmy G's under center, and that's kind of a concern for me, but now he's got a weapon, so we'll see what he can finally do.
Okay, we'll move you up to the 50. Hey, Steve, Mohamed Sanu is now a Patriot. This has to have some fantasy ramifications.
Sanu to the Patriots for a second round sounds pretty good for him and his career, he was on the Falcons. They were kind of doing pretty cruddy, and now he goes to a team kind of late in his career as a veteran, and he gets to play on the Super Bowl contending Patriots. We already know they're probably going to be in the Super Bowl, so if I'm Sanu, I'm happy, and for fantasy, I wouldn't be too excited about him. I think he's got about the same value he had on the Falcons, so pick him up if you want, but not much more value than a guy like Dorsett or maybe Josh Gordon at this point.
Let's go to the doctor's office. Ooh, Kerryon Johnson. Who won't be carrying on the football field anymore. He's being moved to IR. He's got a knee problem. Ryan, what do we think about this?
He's got an extensive injury history dating back to high school, so this is a pretty big concern with Kerryon Johnson. They're putting him on IR, and they're hoping he'll be back, but I don't expect him to be back. This is a pretty late injury for a knee. They've got Ty Johnson in the wings, but I also expect them to maybe bring back C.J. Anderson. He was in their camp in preseason, so, he knows the offense relatively. And there's a couple guys out there that have been working out for teams. You got Jay Ajayi out there who makes a decent amount of sense. Ty Johnson's more of a receiving back. If you get Jay Ajayi to handle the ball more, I think that they're going to bring somebody in, and I don't know if Ty Johnson's worth all your fab this week.
Joey Ajayi could be in your flex spot. Okay, hey, Steve, Will Fuller has a hamstring issue. Stop me if you've heard this before. What's going on with him and his hamstrings?
The guy's just obviously very injury-riddled, and, I don't know if he's even a guy that you want to keep on your roster in certain points with these bye weeks. We know that his injury history keeps him off the field, and I think I kind of sense this one being a multi-week injury, maybe 3 weeks. They got Kenny Stills. He obviously balled out last game for over 100 yards, and I think that Kenny Stills will step into the role that Will Fuller had going in a pretty good matchup against Oakland right away. So if you have Will Fuller, definitely not looking good for you. You're going to have to reach on the waiver to try to replace his value, but it's been tough. He likes to connect with Deshaun Watson on those deep balls, so he's a pretty big hit every week possible in your lineup.
Steve Carolano, MD, he's giving us a diagnosis there. Hey, let's move on. Let's spin the show forward to the meat and potatoes of the show, the sit and start portion. Let's start off with Steve. Let's keep it there. Let's get a quarterback that you like this week.
Well, Matt Stafford for the Lions has been super, super hot, and he's going against the New York Giants. They're giving up over 20 points a game to fantasy quarterbacks, so I like Matt Stafford to continue going with that receiving core there. Now, they like you're saying, they did just lose Kerryon Johnson, but I think that just kind of opens it up for him more. He's not opens it, but he's going to throw a lot more And then Josh Allen on this cake schedule. He just started with Miami last week. They move on to Philly. Obviously, Philly is giving up a lot of fantasy points to quarterbacks, a lot of deep balls downfield. They don't really have anyone in the secondary right now. So throw Josh Allen back in your lineup and keep him in your lineup for a few weeks.
All right, Steve, I'm going to move you to the 25, but Ryan, I want to give you the opportunity to either respond to Steve calling the Eagles being part of the cake schedule, or you get to listen to me do my Matt Stafford impression. Which one would you rather happen for the next 15 seconds?
Listen, right now I'm in a hard place, so I would rather hear you do Matt Stafford, to be honest.
Whoa, bro, dude, like, Kerryon Johnson's out for the next few weeks, bro. No, dude, who's going to hand the ball off to you, bro? All right, Ryan, who's your quarterback you're starting this week?
Yeah, so, I mean, of the two that I really want to start, I think Kirk Cousins has to be in your starting lineups this week, just because the Vikings realize that they no longer have to run the wishbone offense and just hand the ball 40 times. They've looked much more effective getting the ball downfield to their big play guys. I know Adam Thielen is looking questionable for that game as we record on Tuesday, but he's one of those guys that I feel like was probably going to be out there on Thursday night. I'm excited to watch Stephon Diggs continue his revitalization. And my other guy is more of a feel-good story. I think Teddy Bridgewater, and possibly his last dress rehearsal for a starting job against the Arizona Cardinals, is a good start. I think he knows what's on the line for him. I mean, he's been carrying this team, and putting one last stamp of approval on a solid run will definitely put him into a starting job contention somewhere.
Teddy Two Gloves will get Ryan his first touchdown of the week. All right, Ryan is on the scoreboard. Touchdown! I know what the sound effects do later in post. Post, that's a technical term, everybody out there. Hey, Steve, give me a quarterback you're not in love with this week.
Guy I would like last week who kind of disappointed, but Kyler Murray, Arizona quarterback, going against New Orleans, who have been pretty stout the last few weeks. Marshawn Lattimore has been pretty much shutting guys down. Now, Allen Robinson for the Bears put up a good stat line last game, but it all kind of came in the last quarter towards the end of the game when the Bears were down, so kind of discredit that. But a guy you definitely, I don't think you want in your lineup this week, a guy you've been kind of maybe relying on if you're streaming quarterback is Kyle Allen for the Panthers. Now, he's looked pretty good. Even had people, Carolina fans, questioning whether they want Cam Newton to come back or if they're cool with Kyle Allen. That's one question, but this week is no question. I don't want him in my lineup against the San Francisco 49ers. They're going to San Francisco, and I say this every week, but San Francisco's defense is for real. They're allowing like a league low or close to the bottom of like less than 10 points a game to quarterback. So that's someone you just don't even want to screw with. There's definitely a lot of other quarterbacks you probably pick up on your waiver wire.
Yeah, you know what a lot of teams don't do is get into the end zone against 49ers. But Steve's getting into the end zone against Ryan. That's a 7-7 ball game we got going. Hey, Ryan, let's get a quarterback sitter to our you.
Yep. So with the two quarterbacks I'm sitting, near and dear to my heart, I'm sitting Carson Wentz against the Buffalo Bills. I mean, the Eagles are in turmoil, and I don't trust their offense to produce anything the way that they're going. I mean, no one knows who the rat is in the locker room. I mean, they're going against a stout defense, and I mean, they don't know what their scheme is right now. So I'm not trusting Carson Wentz in my lineup, and I'm also not playing Matt Ryan if he plays. I mean, one, he's got the bad knee, and he's got a tough Seattle defense who just got Quandre Diggs in. So I'm not expecting him to do a whole lot, especially since they lost Mo Sanu. So I'm sitting both of those guys.
You bring up the Seahawks, that gets my attention. You move up the field 25 yards. Steve, let's get a running back start or two.
One guy mentioned earlier, Ty Johnson against the Giants. The Giants are giving up a pretty good amount of points to fantasy running backs. So with Kerryon Johnson out and most likely out for the next couple of weeks, this week, feel good about putting him in your lineup. As mentioned, might be a pass catching running back, but I think he's no doubt he's going to get a bunch of work. Especially, the Lions might go find someone, but on this week we don't know who they're going to get. But Sony Michel going against Cleveland. We saw he just came off a 3-touchdown game. Now he only had like 50 yards in the game. But you kind of got to rely on him. If you got him on your team, he's probably your RB2 or maybe a RB3 flex, which would be a pretty good RB3 flex. But he's going to get in the end zone. He's going to get those looks. Now the Patriots, we never know what they're going to do, so it's pretty hard to like start one each and every week. But when you put Sony Michel in your lineup, and especially this week against Cleveland, who's been pretty generous to fantasy running backs, you got to hope he's going to get in the end zone maybe once or twice again.
Steve's moving on up to the 50-yard line. Ryan, let's get some running back starts, baby boy.
So both of my guys have had a lane paid for them by rookie running back Josh Jacobs. I'm starting Austin Eckler this week against the Chicago Bears. They've lost Akeem Hicks, and their defense does not look the same. I mean, they've given up back-to-back 100-yard games against Josh Jacobs and Latavius Murray, guys that we don't expect to really go for big 100-yard games. I mean, Jacobs went over 120, and so did Latavius. So I expect that the Chargers to actually get the run game going. And because of how slow Melvin Gordon's looked, I think Austin Eckler is going to be the RB1 this week, and that's who I'm going with there. And I'm also going with LaShawn McCoy, who is going against the Green Bay Packers. They were just gashed by Josh Jacobs as well, and I think it's going to be a shady game. So I expect both of those guys to have solid games.
That Akeem Hicks nugget moves you up to the 25-yard line. Steve, let's see some running backs that maybe are going to sit down on the bench. Hey, over there, sit on the bench.
Well, real quick here on just one of these, the Philly running backs. I don't want to start at Buffalo. Ryan, this is not a personal attack. It's just pretty tough to. No, it seems like the Chargers team right now. Honestly, we don't know who is reliable. Carson Wentz isn't playing up to par. The defense doesn't look great. People are questioning Doug Peterson and his coaching decisions. So these running backs, we don't know like who's going to get in the end zone, who's going to get the most work. We don't even know how the game script is going to go. And Buffalo's defense is pretty good. So I'm sitting those guys. And then Royce Freeman. This kind of brings up that bet we had last week that we're going to have to push on to another week because I didn't bring any hot sauce. But I owe you some hot sauce to the tongue, man. And Royce Freeman is definitely a guy I'm sitting this week against Indianapolis, who's only given up 15 points to running backs a game. And they have another running back in town called Philip Lindsay. So, like, if they're going to split it like they usually do, 60-40, 50-50, one of them, he's really going to have to go off to be able to surpass that mark. So, I don't like Royce Freeman this week.
Ryan, it's your turn to send some running backs to the bench.
Yeah, so this one we kind of saw last night, just based on the Patriots' defense. I'm tempering all expectations with Nick Chubb. I mean, Nick Chubb looked like a stud throughout the entire year so far. But, I mean, the Patriots are, for my 25 years, they might be playing the best defense I've ever seen. Like, that's how good their defense is, and I'm not starting really anybody against that team. And I'm also sitting all San Fran running backs just because, one, we don't know who's the main guy at this point. Tevin Coleman's look good. Matt Breida's look good. Raheem Mostert gets in sometimes. And they just got a new weapon in Emmanuel Sanders. They're going to want to show him off week one. I mean, that's Kyle Shanahan. So I'm expecting them to pass a little more than usual. But I'm not playing any San Fran running backs this week.
Steve, who are we starting at wide receiver?
Mentioned earlier, we're starting Kenny Stills against Oakland. They've actually given up a league-high 520-yard receptions a game. So fire him in your lineup because he's taking that wolf of the role. And that's perfect for Kenny Stills because we saw what he was able to do last year. And the last couple of years in Miami, that's his role. So I like him with Deshaun Watson, who likes to sling it downfield. I'm also starting Corey Davis, probably a popular guy on the waiver wire this week, a guy that I haven't been able to trust in past years. But everyone thought with Ryan Tannehill coming, they're going to throw a lot more, and I think we saw that. I think he's actually going to make A.J. Brown and Corey Davis fantasy viable, and they're going against Tampa, who's a bottom three team on the secondary and just passing overall. So what a better match! What better matchup to get Corey Davis in your lineup and start him with confidence right off the waiver wire?
Yeah, Steve, you're moving down the field. You're at the 25-yard line. Congratulations, and I'll stop you. Ryan, now who are you starting at wide receiver?
Yeah, so, Jonders, can you name me the only two wide receivers in the NFL that have at least 50 receiving yards in all of their team's games?
Let me think about this. Okay, I'm going to say Golden Tate.
Nope.
And, no.
I mean, you read the show notes, which is nice.
I thought I was going to steal that one.
No, it's John Brown and Michael Thomas. So I'm starting John Brown this weekend, baby.
I really thought I was going to sneak that one by. Yeah.
That was good. That was a good one. I felt that easily.
I respect that. But I'm starting John Brown against this terrible Eagles secondary. I got nothing else besides that great nugget. John Brown's going to torch him. I mean, he's been consistent all year, and that's what we've wanted out of John Brown in years past. I mean, he's been injury prone. He's had I forget what he's had recently. I think he had sickle cell maybe, but he's back and he looks great. And I'm also
I'm gonna cut you off. I'm done listening to you. You know what? You made me look like a damned fool. And also, you know for a fact that Golden Tate is in person has made me look like a fool. You're done talking for right now.
Listen,
all right, we're moving on to Steve.
Golden Tate's also starting.
We're moving on to Steve.
It's a revenge game against Detroit. We're starting.
I'm done with revenge games also. I'm done. So I'm moving you back. For the first time in show history, I'm moving you back to the 50. Moving you back to the 50. All right, Whoa. Steve, can you please help me out here, man? Can you please help me out? Can you give me some wide receivers you're going to sit?
Going along with the theme with Kyle Allen, I'm sitting Curtis Samuel. His targets have been going up and whatnot, but like we've said, San Francisco not a great matchup. Now, we could argue that maybe they're going to be down to San Francisco and maybe they're going to have to use him as more of a utility guy. It's kind of Christian McCaffrey special, so I'm not going to bank on that. So I'm sitting Curtis Samuel. And I'm sitting Devontae Parker, who's actually surprisingly been pretty fantasy relevant. He's scored in the last 3 games. He's been a guy, if you've been starting every week, has been giving you pretty good numbers. I think over the last 4 weeks, he's a top 15 wide receiver, which I never thought I would say. I'm never starting a Miami Dolphin, but Devontae Parker's matchup against Pittsburgh this week just isn't that great. So, and I don't trust Fitzpatrick, so I'm sitting Devontae Parker.
Thank you, Steve. And for that excellent analysis, you get a touchdown. So it's 14-7, Steve right now. Ryan, where are we right now? So can you give me some sits, Ryan? Wide receiver sits?
Yeah. I mean, aside from sitting me on your fantasy team for Battle in the Trenches, I'm definitely sitting Jarvis Landry against the Patriots just because it's the Patriots again. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Jarvis Landry's been a solid flex play. I mean, he's been a PPR machine, but you can't play him. I mean, like, he's probably wide receiver 40 at best this week.
Okay, do you think Gilmore is going to be lining up and following Beckham around the field, and then they're going to be doubling Landry?
I mean, one of the 12 McCourtys on the field at one time will probably take Jarvis.
I got a
you can bracket.
Question.
You
Would
can
you
bracket
sit OBJ in any situation?
In this situation, yeah, I would. If you guys had OBJ to sit right this week, I would say, yeah, fine. Because
you'd consider Gilmore, it, right? You'd think about it?
I would definitely not start him this week. I'm not going to start him in any of the leagues I have him because Gilmore is by far the best cornerback in the league, and he's surrounded by all those other talented defensive backs, half of those in which are named McCourty, like you said. I'm not starting Odell. And I'm moving myself up the field, 25 yards for that one.
No, I mean...
Do you have any other ones? Let's get your other player.
I was also going to sit Alshon Jeffrey because Tre'Davious White's going to shadow him. I mean, it's going to be a tough matchup for him, so I would not play him. I would not play, Jarvis Landry. And according to Jonders, we're not playing Odell Beckham Jr., so...
Let's move you back down to the 25. You're going to gain those 25 yards back. Okay, Steve, what I want out of you is both your tight end start and your tight end sit right now.
I just want to take a note. He mentioned another Philly player against him. He doesn't even like the Eagles. The tight ends. I'm starting Hunter Henry against Chicago. I'm starting Hunter Henry against Chicago. Darren Waller just torched him. And I am sitting Zach Ertz against Buffalo because the Philadelphia Eagles just aren't that great.
Okay, I'll move you up to the 50. Ryan, give me your tight end start and sit.
Well, Jonders, I'm starting Kyle Rudolph on Thursday Night Football because there's 2 guys catching passes for Minnesota. It's Stephon Diggs and I think Laquan Treadwell's still on that team. Maybe Irv Smith, perhaps. But Kyle Rudolph's going to be the red zone target. He has been in years past, but Adam Thielen's kind of taken over a little bit in there. So I think he's good for a touchdown. I like him there. And I'm sitting any tight end that has scored less than 5 points in the last couple weeks. Like TJ Hockenson, I'm sitting Jared Cook. The problem with tight ends is if you have a stud and if you don't have a stud, you need to find somebody on the waiver wire. So pick somebody up. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, congratulations, Ryan. You just scored a touchdown. It is 14-all. What I want to get out of you, Steve, is what will you be dressing up as this year for Halloween?
Oh, man, you really put me on the spot here.
You don't know yet?
I think I'm going to go as an old cartoon classic.
Oh, no.
An Angry Beaver, man. One of my favorite shows. There's no way I'm not going as Angry Beaver. And I need to find someone to be
Angry Beaver?
We're going to kill it.
What? Are you going to be... Which name the character that you're going to be right now. Name the character.
I got to go.
10,
I actually got to go.
8, 7, 6... So no, if you get name one of the 2 characters from Angry Beavers right now, right?
This is a steal.
We can go Norb.
Okay, Norb, you win. All right, Ryan wins Battle in the Trenches this week. And Ryan, why don't you tell people all the things that they can do, like go to Climb the Pocket on Twitter and climbthepocket.com. You can tell them all those things.
Yeah, so I mean, we are now recording these on Tuesdays. We hope to get them out on Wednesdays, depending on how sad Steve is after his losses on the show. So they'll be out Wednesday or Thursday, depending on when they're done. We will have rankings every week. You can always slide into the DMs. I answer as many questions as possible. And, check out Jonders all his comedy and forward pass thinking.
Hey,
content.
check this out. I'm going to be on an Adult Swim dating show Wednesday night. So tonight, I guess,
is that confirmed?
Watching this, yeah, that's confirmed. I'm going to be the main dater on DigiKiss on AdultSwim.com. So go to my Twitter, @JondersFPT, and I'll tweet out a link before that goes live. All right, for Steve Catalano, for Ron McGinley, I've been Jonders. Get home safe, everybody. Bye!